Part 2, Visions and Moral Worlds. Chapter 4, The Disagreement. Beneath the disagreement, imagine attending a family gathering. At some point, a conversation turns toward a public issue. Perhaps education, perhaps immigration, perhaps economics, perhaps technology. At first, the disagreement seems straightforward. One person cites a statistic. Another cites a different statistic. Someone recalls a personal experience. Another points to a historical example. The conversation continues for a while. Yet after listening carefully, a curious realization sometimes emerges. The disagreement does not appear to be about the facts alone. The facts matter, but they are not carrying the entire weight of the conversation. Something else is operating beneath the surface. This pattern appears far beyond family gatherings. It appears in public debates, political disagreements, academic disputes, religious controversies, cultural conflicts. Again and again, intelligent people examine similar information and arrive at remarkably different conclusions. The phenomenon is so common that we scarcely notice how strange it is. How can people looking at the same world see such different things? Most of us assume disagreement begins with information. If people had the right facts, we imagine, agreement would eventually follow. Sometimes that happens. Often it does not. In fact, some of the most persistent disagreements occur among people who possess access to roughly the same information. The disagreement lies elsewhere. Beneath the facts, beneath the arguments, beneath the visible conflict. The visible disagreement is often not the real disagreement. Consider a familiar visual illusion. Some people see a vase, others see two faces. The image itself does not change. What changes is the pattern the mind recognizes. The same principle appears repeatedly in human affairs. People rarely respond directly to reality itself. They respond to their interpretation of reality. The interpretation often arrives so quickly and automatically that it feels like reality itself. This may be one of the most important observations in the study of human affairs. Human beings do not encounter the world as blank slates. We approach reality carrying assumptions, experiences, values, expectations, memories, stories. These become lenses through which events are interpreted. Most of the time we are barely aware those lenses exist. The lens becomes invisible, and what is invisible often appears self-evident. This creates an interesting asymmetry. Other people's assumptions often appear obvious. Our own assumptions rarely do. Other people's conclusions seem influenced by values. Our conclusions seem influenced by facts. Other people appear biased. We appear realistic. Yet people on opposing sides of the same issue frequently experience the same feeling. Each sees themselves as responding to reality. Each sees the other as misunderstanding it. The challenge is not that people are irrational. The challenge is that interpretation happens before conscious analysis begins. By the time reasoning starts, a great deal of the work has already been done. The mind has organized experience into patterns, highlighted some features, ignored others, assigned meaning, constructed coherence. Much of this occurs automatically. This is one reason disagreements can become so frustrating. People often believe they are arguing about one thing while actually disagreeing about something much deeper. They may argue about a policy while disagreeing about human nature. They may argue about economics while disagreeing about fairness. They may argue about institutions while disagreeing about trust. They may argue about change while disagreeing about risk. The visible disagreement is often only the surface expression of a deeper difference in interpretation. At this point, it would be easy to reach the wrong conclusion. One might conclude that all interpretations are equally valid. That truth is entirely subjective. That reality simply becomes whatever people believe. That is not the lesson. Some explanations are better than others. Some beliefs correspond to reality more accurately than others. The existence of lenses does not eliminate truth. It simply reminds us that access to truth is often more complicated than we first imagine. The goal is not to abandon judgment. The goal is to hold judgment with humility, to recognize that seeing clearly is more difficult than it appears, to remember that reality is often larger than our current understanding of it, and to remain open to the possibility that other people may see aspects of reality that we have overlooked. One of the gifts of studying history is that it repeatedly exposes us to minds organized differently from our own. Different cultures, different eras, different assumptions, different moral worlds. Many ideas that once seemed obvious now appear strange. Many ideas that seem obvious today may someday appear equally strange. This realization can be unsettling. It can also be liberating. It reminds us that certainty is often easier than understanding. Perhaps the most useful question in moments of disagreement is not, "Why is that person wrong?" but, "What might they be seeing that I am not?" The answer may be nothing, or it may reveal an aspect of reality our own perspective had overlooked. Either way, the question expands awareness. An expansion of awareness is one of the central aims of orientation. A pattern should now be becoming visible. In the previous chapters, we discovered that human beings are social creatures. They learn from one another. They organize themselves into groups. Now we encounter another layer. Human beings do not merely inhabit reality. They interpret it, and once interpretation enters the picture, disagreement becomes inevitable. Not because people are foolish, not because disagreement is a failure, but because reality is filtered through minds before it becomes understanding. The same event can acquire different meanings. The same facts can be organized into different stories. The same world can be experienced through different lenses. To understand civilization more deeply, we must understand not only the realities people inhabit, but the ways they experience those realities. Closing orientation. Much of what appears to be disagreement about events is often disagreement about meaning. Facts matter, evidence matters, truth matters. Yet interpretation matters as well. Human beings do not simply encounter reality, they organize it into patterns, stories, explanations, frameworks of meaning, and those interpretive frameworks shape what becomes visible. Seeing this does not eliminate disagreement, but it can make disagreement more intelligible, and perhaps a little less surprising. More importantly, it invites humility. The world is often larger than any single perspective can capture. And the first step toward understanding may be recognizing that we are always seeing through a lens. If people interpret reality differently, another question naturally emerges. Why do certain situations feel morally obvious to some people and morally troubling to others? Why do intelligent and sincere people often experience the same event through profoundly different moral intuitions? And why do those intuitions seem to arise long before careful reasoning begins? To answer those questions, we must look beneath conscious analysis and explore the moral worlds human beings inhabit.